I'm Jasmine. Welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. This save has been sitting in my Sims 4 for honestly longer than I'd like to admit. It's one of those saves you keep opening, staring at, and then quietly backing away from. Because although you love the Sims in it, you have absolutely no idea what's going on anymore. When I first made this save, I remember falling in love with creating these families. This was my first real attempt at rotational gameplay, like actually trying to keep multiple households interesting without everything turning into chaos soup. I definitely started off with a pretty big goal. Started with 3 families, so the West family, the Maddox, and the Richter families. And for a while, it was actually pure magic. I got my families to like the 3rd and 4th generation. There might even be a 5th generation in there somewhere. And then things just started to just fizzle. And I got into a weird place. I didn't have strong stories for my characters anymore. And if I did, I definitely forgot those details. And so I would load into a household and just immediately feel lost. My families kept growing, the chaos kept multiplying, but just not in a good way. I couldn't keep track of who was doing what or why. I know we've all had that moment where you love your Sims, you're attached to them, but the save just isn't fun anymore. You're bored, you're overwhelmed, and you're like, okay, like what now? They say the mother of invention is boredom. And honestly, that tracks. Because one day, I don't even remember what I was doing. I was on the interwebs, minding my business, and I stumbled across someone sharing a simple little Excel tracker for their legacy family. Something in my brain just clicked. I downloaded it, I filled it in, and suddenly my old save started breathing again. This was the first time I ever used a tracking tool for The Sims or really any life sim game, and it completely changed the way I play. Because when you track things, even tiny things, they grow. Giving my Sims hobbies, traits, likes, dislikes, little notes about their personalities, it wasn't about being organized. It was about giving myself a way to see my characters as whole beings again, as people that have nuance and aren't just black and white, but might make mistakes. It was a way to remember who my characters are, to give them direction, and that's when my families really started to feel alive again. I want to show you how I revived my old save, how I reconnected with these Sims that I thought I'd lost, and how a little bit of intentional tracking really brings stories back to life in your game. I went through all of my Sims as I was tracking them and made sure that I had certain things in place for them. So I used my character starter kit. If you want to learn more about that, you should definitely check out my video. That will be linked below for you. Tracking their likes, dislikes, hobbies, and skills really reminded me why I fell in love with rotational play. Lemon is the original matriarch of this save. She was the first Sim I ever made that has a beautiful legacy and family tree. As you can see here, it's quite large. She originally had 4 daughters. I also realized playing rotationally that it's important to turn off some of the story things that can happen because otherwise your family gets a little wonky. Raylan and Rogelio are together. They are not yet married, but they have had previous other lives and the game just kind of brought them together, and I was like, I like this. 2 of my OG families have now merged, the Maddox and the West family. Raylan has always been kind of a geek growing up. She was in the chess club. She was always into gaming, and she's just kind of carried that with her as an adult. Her big secret is that she's actually a spellcaster, and no one except her family knows this about her. And so she can only practice spells in secret or when she's in the magic realm. I really see her as someone who is kind of this quiet, intense scholar. She is a hothead and a geek, but she's also childish and perfectionist. So she kind of lives half in her own world and then half in the real world with her family. But she throws herself into magic, gaming, and these kind of side projects that she really enjoys to do. So although she is a fantastic mom, she's got some other things on her mind, and that's really where Rogelio steps into this story beautifully. beautifully. Rogelio and Raylan have 2 biological children, Astrid and Lunar. The other 2, Evangeline and Mitchell, were adopted by Rogelio before him and Raylan got together, and they actually just turned into young adults, so they'll be moving out of this house soon. But Rogelio has always been the emotional, charismatic, expressive part of the family. He's really the emotional one of the family. He's going to be the one that you can see taking care of the kids, crying at birthdays, cheering on milestones. That's really who Rogelio is in this family. And then their kids, kind of play into the story as well. Astrid has kind of been groomed to be this like magical heir. She's super proper and polite, and she's happy and just kind of brings this beautiful, fun energy to the family. Lunar's still a toddler, so we'll see where his story goes. Mitchell and Evangeline, even though I probably won't continue playing them outside of this family once they move out, they still have their own stories. Evangeline is kind of this luxury self-care queen who has been spoiled by Rogelio her entire life, and she is a wellness influencer. So she's got a career as a influencer and does, lifestyle review of wellness items. Mitchell is just super dramatic. One of his personality traits is that he's erratic. He's also obsessed with his aesthetics. So you'll see him taking care of his personal appearance quite a bit. You'll see him doing yoga and working out, but you'll also see him very wildly in his moods. And sometimes he's super angry, sometimes he's sad, sometimes he's tense, and that just is part of his dramatic personality. Really, what I want to show here is that for each of these characters, you'll see here on my tracker, this isn't necessarily super organized, but there are notes here and there that kind of give an idea of where I want my characters' stories to go. It's not always perfect. It's not always like beautifully done, but these little tiny little things that you can just quickly type in like while you're playing or right after or before, the payoff for the few minutes of just taking those notes is massive. So that's how these traits and notes and things in my spreadsheet lend themselves into becoming real character driven narratives. While Raylan and Rogelio's household brought me back to the heart of this save, another sim reminded me how much fun it is when a character has a very clear purpose. I also wanted to show you that your stories can still be interesting and fun to play even if you just have, one sim to play. It doesn't have to be like this massive, 6 people family. The next sim is Stella Maddox. She is also one of the daughters of Lemon. She is our rancher queen. She's determined to own her own working ranch and be a nectar connoisseur. This was kind of fun to build into because I had already placed Stella into Chestnut Ridge because I did want her to have a working ranch. But then the businesses and hobbies pack also came out, and I was like, oh man, this would be kind of cool if she got into like having a massive nectar empire and like a working ranch. So she's a very highly independent sim. She's single and loving it. Quite ambitious. And so not only does she have a full working ranch, but she also has a very nice little nectar making setup where she's got her own store on her lot, as well as a very nice basement that we will be turning into a nectar cellar. Her story is much more packed. There's a lot more going on with building skills and developing things on the ranch. So it's definitely a different story than Raylan and Rogelio, who live, in San Myshuno in an apartment, and Raylan doing spellcasting, right? So very, very different, but still with Stella, there's a lot to play through and there's a lot of details to keep track of. And so, for example, Stella got the single and loving it lifestyle, not because I really planned that, but because I was so busy working on her ranch and doing the nectar making that she naturally got that because she's an independent queen, and that just really plays into the storyline. And so keeping track of those types of occurrences are really what makes your sim come alive, and having a tracker sheet helps you do that more efficiently. And if you're someone who wants to keep a notebook and write those notes down, that's fantastic. Just use whatever way works for your brain, because we're all different, right? We have different ways of doing stuff. I'm definitely a list person. I like to write things down. It just becomes more exciting and more fun to play. So after spending some time with Stella and her ranch dreams, I want to go back to the West family. We have Rogelio West and Noah West. Rogelio is with Raylan. Noah is with Sophia. They live in Windenburg and are seriously one of my most favorite cozy families to play. I have spent an embarrassingly long amount of time playing just Noah and Sophia. By results, they are at the very top of their career. They've got a bunch of skills maxed out. And I kind of started to get bored with them because I played so much of their story. So that's when they decided to start growing their family. And so we have 3 of their kids as well. Noah is a celebrity chef. He's ambitious. He's a good guy. He's goofy. He loves his family. And so you'll constantly see him cooking meals for the kids and helping out with homework. He's really into like handiness and gardening. He's just a good dude. Thea is an actress. She's a little bit more materialistic, but she's active. She's cheerful. She's at the very top of her career and loves to do video editing. And so she makes videos for her fans and is obsessed with working out. They have come together and made the cutest little family. Their children are all very, very different. Nelson is very much outdoorsy bro kind of dude. He loves adventure. I've never done the Mount Kamarabi aspiration before, so I thought it might be kind of like a fun, like random little arc to just go off with Nelson and like have an adventurous sim that likes to rock climb and like do all that, because I haven't really played a lot of those skills before. That's where like this note tracking really helps, because there are things I want to do in The Sims that I haven't done, even though I've been playing this game for who knows how many flippin' years. I mean, I do know, and I'm not going to tell you, but it's just crazy to think that this game is so massive. There are so many things to do. Even in the base game, you don't need all these expansion packs, but you can still do things and make it interesting for your character. And that's why keeping this tracker or some sort of note-taking system for your stories is so flippin' important, because it brings you back to that excitement. It brings you back to that moment of being like, oh yeah, I was looking forward to doing the rock climbing thing, you know? Then we also have Mila, who is the middle child. She's a little bit edgy. She's super, super smart, but still very relatable. I actually also have never made a robot in The Sims. And so I thought it'd be super fun to kind of make her story into kind of being like a little crazy scientist lady and have her make a robot at some point in the future. And then we have Christina, who is the youngest. She's a perfectionist. She loves music. You'll find her dancing all the time. I'm not sure what I want to do with her story yet, but I think it'll have something to do with music, maybe performing, singing. Her mom is an actress. Sophia has also been encouraging Mila to get outside of just doing all the geeky science stuff. And so Sophia did sign Mila up for a drama club. Mila is taking it in stride. She actually loves to skill build. So she's doing really good at that so far, and we'll see what happens with her drama club experience. All that is to say that tracking all these things and talking about it's exciting and it's fun. That's what brings the joy of playing The Sims back. That joy doesn't rely on how much packs you have or CC or mods. It's really connected to your imagination. Using that imaginative skill is what brings that joy back. These families have stories waiting for me. I just need to see it again. Coming back to this save and using some of the tips and tricks and hacks and things that we've talked about in these storytelling videos has really reminded me why I love storytelling, why I love playing The Sims, and also why I love playing rotationally. It's so much fun. And if you want more ideas, tricks, and tips on rotational gameplay, let me know. When you give your Sims a little bit of structure, a few notes here and there, a hobby, a trait, and you actually pay attention to those, then they stop feeling like these random pixel people and start feeling like real characters again. These families aren't perfect, right? Their stories aren't necessarily all dramatic or scripted, but they're alive. And that's what makes this world so special to me. I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for spending time with me today. I'm Jasmine. Stay cozy and keep simming. Bye.